In your lightning round list.
The only other thing I wanted to bring up here was Anthology, which really owns Blackboard now, a couple of other things. They declared Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and this is probably going to get into the weeds for our listeners, but we know Blackboard was the original course management software way back in the mid 1990s. But what's interesting here is that Phil Hill went deep into the bankruptcy filings, which I found really fascinating because Blackboard basically is the biggest part of Anthology, and it accounted for about 240 million. But Instructure, by the way, now much bigger, about 3 times the size of Blackboard. So it also just shows you, by the way, that new market entrants can kind of take over. We see that everywhere. Amazon, and Walmart took over for Sears, and Kodak went out the door, and now Apple is the camera of choice now. So it even happens in higher ed, at least in the EdTech portion of this, but it has happened over the last 30 years. And so, Michael, I know the theme of this episode for you was new market entrants. I feel that we always think it never happens in higher ed. I understand this is not at the core of higher ed, but it definitely has happened here, at least in the ed tech space.
Yeah, I didn't mean for it to become my answer to everything, but I'm dusting off my feeling. I'm feeling pretty good about this one because this is classic disruptive innovation in the Instructure Canvas example, right? With the SaaS model compared to a server-based on-premise disruption. And then what you tend to see in markets where disruption happens is the leaders sort of do weird consolidations and efforts with often,
which is exactly what Blackboard did, right? It was bought,
exactly
sold,
what they did into Anthology,
combined, right?
Yeah, and a lot of debt, and then it's like a 2U story, right? With a lot of debt, and that creates challenges. And you go into Chapter 11 to try to wipe that out. And so Phil Hill, I think, has done an excellent job covering this, Jeff. But in some ways, the pattern recognition, I think, is the same. I've got one other, before I ask you something about culture, because you keep writing about it, but I have one other